Hi, I'm Candace, and this is Fitness and Harmony's Overcome Negativity and Just Show Up. So the goal for today is to just show up. So if you've shown up today or you have clicked to play this video, good for you. That's all you had to do. Let's come down to the mat any way that you can and come into what we traditionally call in yoga the easy pose. And it's anything but easy. But what is important about this pose is that your spine is straight. So let's take a second to align the vertebrae of the spine from the bottom up through the pelvic bowl, up through the low back, up through the middle back, up through the upper back, up through the neck, and then with the chin slightly down, pull the back of the head up. So the mass of your head is balanced over the spine. Once you have that, everything else comes from that. Relax the arms down. Let's lower the eyelids. Inhale through the nose. Exhale. Begin rhythmically arriving here, being attentive to now. Rhythmically draw the breath in and allow that to begin to straighten and uplift your spine. Begin to trust that there's a process of healing in the body. Begin to witness the muscles that are holding you here. Some of those muscles are holding you up. Some of those muscles are holding you back. What I mean by that is that there is tension and built up emotions that have lodged into habitual patterns, contractions in the muscles, and neurobiological chemical reactions. We can think of this as toxic waste in the body. So as you inhale, draw up through the spine. Remember that alignment we discussed. As you exhale, cinch in the waist and let a ripple effect of witnessing those muscles, the ones that are holding you up and the ones that are holding you back. This time, if you're doing this class around when I'm recording it, is a time for people to come together, for humans to create a group process, for good and for bad. Same as the organism of the body, the organism of the group has a pattern. We can either feel uplifted, some of those muscles are uplifting you, and some of them are criticizing and holding back and holding a pattern that really doesn't serve anything. Now with this next exhale, pull the shoulders back, squeezing the shoulder blades together. Inhale and exhale. With the next exhale, drop the shoulders down, but don't give up, holding the spine in and up. So some of those patterns serve us, holding around the waist, uplifting the spine, squeezing the pelvic floor muscles. There's like a hammock of pelvic floor muscles. Those are important to all kinds of digestive and eliminating health. Do this again. When you exhale now, draw the shoulders up. Wait for an inhale and an exhale. When you exhale, pull the shoulders back. Hold that there. Wait for an inhale. And on the exhale, soften the shoulders down, but don't let the spine collapse. Now slowly drop one ear to the shoulder and begin to trust the process that the muscle on the side of the neck will let go when it can. When you decide to take action, lift your head back up, drop the ear over to the other shoulder, and then trust that muscular process, that it will let go when it can, And when you decide to take action, so everything you do requires energy. Now drop the chin to the chest and then turn the head slowly to one side, then twist your head to the other side. Do that slowly again, like you're painting a necklace across your collarbone with your chin. Lift your head all the way up, open your eyes, bring the palms together at the heart. So let's inhale and circle up. Bring the palms together overhead and exhale. Scoop the belly in as you bring the thumbs back to the heart. So inhale, circle up. Bring the palms together. As you exhale, scoop the belly in as your thumbs come back to your heart. One more time. So our energy is rising. And then we're collecting energy into the belly and the heart. This time, inhale, circle up. Leave the arms overhead. Then exhale, lean to one side. Drop one hand to the floor. Now, squeeze or move the shoulder around in a circle. So I didn't really say move the arm around. The arm probably is attached to the shoulder. I want you to move the shoulder around in a circle a few times. So the important thing to do when you're faced with all of this negativity that might be around us is to not adopt a siege mentality. Let the arm hang in front and then let the head sort of rock side to side. Make a gentle circle with your head and then let the head hang. Push all the way up. Let's try that again. So scoop the belly, pelvic floor hammock. Inhale, circle up. Leave the arms overhead. Exhale to the other side. Hold. Let this bottom arm come down. And now circle, I said the shoulder around. Above all, stay present. There's going to be retaliation. When you take action and you're trying to change an old pattern, maybe in your muscle, but maybe in a relationship, there's going to be retaliation. Let the arm down in front of you. Let it sort of hang over the knee. Good. Then as the shoulder collapses and relaxes, move the head side to side like a little tick-tock. And then slowly circle the head around, refining the energy that's flowing inside. Let the head hang. And eventually that illuminates that inner balance point, that place of equilibrium. Push off and roll up. Let's come to a supported child's pose. So supported means that you use the bolsters and the blocks. I'm going to use my blanket. And I have this bolster that came with like an old comforter set. So I make a nice little place for my chest. I might also use my blocks. So just kind of gather props, anything that you've got. You can pull cushions and blankets off of your couch, do that. Of course, leave a space for your nose and mouth so that they can breathe. So you can support the forehead, but most of all, support the belly and the heart. Where do your arms go? Where does it feel good for the arms to go? For a lot of people, they like the arms down and back, like you're getting a massage. Sometimes the arms in front feels a little bit better. Let's pause here. So once again, breathe. You have been criticized. You have been pushed and pulled. And because of that, you've created a self-talk track of negativity. You have reflected the negativity that's around you inside. So right now, become attentive. Notice what the body is feeling. Slow down reactivity to pull apart the process of repeating negativity. So begin to soften your belly. Again, soften your belly. You are tired. You have been processing a lot for a long time. Begin relaxing your shoulders. Above all, feel supported. So don't always be defensive. Don't always carry around the pain and the hurt of the past. There's some of it you can let go of. Soften the shoulders again. Feel them get heavy. Take another breath. And another breath. And then begin to push up. So I know that felt good. We could do that pose for a very long time. Let's remove the bolsters of blocks, not the blocks, the bolsters and blankets. They all start with B. And bring the blocks in front of you on the floor so that you can put your elbows and forearms on them. Then begin to come to what I call hands and knees. I guess it's elbows and knees. And then begin to push forward and back. Notice what's moving. But above all, notice what's not moving. Remember the abs? Remember we were squeezing to straighten the spine? When all else fails, straighten the spine. That's really, really the one thing. When all else fails, straighten the spine. Breathe the spine. And pay attention. Don't adopt that siege mentality. Like I just have to pull in and put my guard up. Draw the drawbridge back so that nothing can get to me. Hold the belly in, lengthen the spine, come back to what I'll call, 90 degrees at the elbow. And then tuck one toe under and straighten that leg back. Now rock forward and back. So really what you're doing is pointing and flexing the foot, the ankle. This week's process, this week's practice is just trusting that by showing up, you're getting something valuable. But one of the things we have to do is to let down our guard or our defenses, because those habitual patterns are going to stay until something cracks them and decides to change. Now hold back, that is push into the heel like you're trying to get your heel down on the floor. I'm noticing this one hip is rising, so that means I'm trying to resist this. Remember, your body's going to throw up these defensive walls, physically, mentally, and emotionally. But right now, let's just talk about physically. The wall is that I don't want to, get into the hip yet. I'm willing to give up the calf, but my hip is being a little defensive. No. So what happens is my abs and my low back always pay the price. They always try to compensate. So be attentive to what you are actually doing. We'll bring that knee in. Now push the hips back and see if you can stretch, latissimus dorsi, those back muscles like you're hanging. 3 slow breaths here. Exhale. Remember, you are supported. The blocks are supporting you. This mat is like a magical mat. Come back up, brace the abdominals, stretch the other leg back. So turn the toe under first, then push the heel back, then rock back and forth, effectively pointing and flexing at the ankle. When we're in these times of trouble, these times of high, negative energy, and I know there's a lot of positive energy too. In fact, that's the point. It really is there. It's just easy to absorb. It's called negativity bias that the brain has. It's important that you decide that you're not just going along with the flow. The flow might be too negative, and it's easy. So interrupt that self-talk. Push back and hold. Notice that the hip maybe has flung open as you went into a twist. Trust that your body naturally wants to get out of a negative spiral. But it really does require energy and strength. It's strength. Just like if you have to lift, a heavy 200-pound barbell, that requires strength. Same thing. To change how your feelings and thoughts and how your body is moving, it requires strength. 2 slow breaths. Give your spine room to move. Let's bring the knee back in. We'll take these blocks a little bit out of the way. Bring the palms to the floor. Bring the fingers. Let me show you what I'm doing. I'm bringing the fingertips to the floor. So like I'm grabbing a grapefruit. I don't know why. Making almost like spider hands. Lift the knees up and down in your time, in your tempo. So let me not even tell you what you should be doing here. Except for saying you should be exploring the range of joints. So let me just list them, right? There's ankles, we worked with those. There's knees, that's what I directed you towards. There's hips, there's shoulders, and there's spine. There's more than that, of course. But your number one lesson today is straighten the spine. So that requires that the hips and the knees and the shoulders and the ankles, they have to have a certain amount of give. I'm going to ask you to come up into, I'm going to call this downward dog, but walk your feet out a little bit wider than the mat. As long as your floor is not slippery, then stay on the mat, of course. And pause here. Saturate the body with the energy of the breath. Let the head hang. Saturate the body with the energy of the breath. Above all, feel supported and allow yourself to regress. As you're breathing in, I want you to find that inner balance point. There physically is one, and that's cool. We're going to need that to balance. But there's also mentally and spiritually a balance point, an equilibrium, where all things sort of make sense. Even if they don't make sense, eventually we make them make sense. 2 more breaths. I know you're getting into the back of the legs there. And then come back down. Let's come all the way down into crocodile pose for about 4 breaths. So that is stack your hands in front. Let your head rest on the hands. Turn the leg bones, all of them, outward. Now practice breathing. We just went through some hands and knees and downward dog. We move the spine around a little bit. I want you to notice the tantrum that the body, especially in that downward dog, the tantrum, the retaliation, and the rebellion that the body may have been throwing. This happens within us, but it also happens outside of us. When you ask a pattern to break, we ask someone or some part of us to change, the transition is always a challenge. So now I want you to look at all the muscles of the body. 2 more breaths. Breathe into all of the muscles evenly. So all your muscles feel like they're heard, they matter, they're here, show up. And exhale, bring the knees and the thighs back underneath you. Bring the hands next to the chest. Push all the way back to child's pose. Take 2 breaths here. Straighten the spine. So pull the belly in and stay present for the channel of energy. Come up to hands and knees. Let's try stepping 1 foot forward. So maybe grab your blocks and step 1 foot forward. Now rehearse pushing forward and maybe ease up. Try pushing forward. Notice there's a wall. There's like an imaginary wall of something keeping you from going like too far forward, whatever that means. Now, what I've seen people do is twist. In essence, they go around that wall, which in life is not a bad way of dealing with things. But in yoga, we're facing it. We're facing that holding, that defensiveness, the barrier that keeps you from going where you really want to go. We're facing it and changing the pattern. So instead of going around it all the time, sometimes we have to go through it. So hold forward now. Here's where the strength comes in. We have to have strength to stay kind of holding when we're pushed up against the wall. So we're going to just stay here and process, squeezing the belly in, uplifting the spine, pulling the shoulders down and back like we began, softening the muscles that can soften. So I just noticed the toes on the foot behind me, they were all kind of crunched and curling in. Why are they doing that? I don't know, that they've learned that somehow that helps me think. So you find that muscle, a group of muscles that hold. They're like your last defense against all of that. Do 3 slow breaths. Decide to process whatever's in front of you, whatever you're showing up for today. 1 more breath, being attentive. We're going to try to come up. We'll do that by turning the back toes under and lifting the back knee. Spin the back foot so that the foot is pointing out about 45 degrees. And then here's the work. Try to straighten the front knee by sending the hips straight back. So the work here is pushing the hips back, not really coming up. I want you to think up, think back. So the bottom edge of your hips are rocking and pointing to that back wall. So you may have to, again, rehearse the edge. Remember, regression is always an option. You don't always have to move forward. Forward isn't always the way, but sometimes it is. And we need strength to keep going down the path that we're choosing. Hold this, again, without spinning your hip open too much. Hips are mostly, forward. 2. Now bend this front knee and walk over to the long edge of your mat. So spin your feet and your legs so that they're pointing roughly forward. And then try hanging. Continue to be attentive. Now, try walking your heels a little bit further in so you can bend and straighten your knees. Again, I'm not going to over direct you here. Try shifting right and left. And just notice the possible range. What are the movement possibilities here? All you had to do today was show up. Keep the spine straight. Hold the things that need holding, like the pelvic floor, like the lower abdominals. Alignment in the neck, of course. Now just hang at the center. 2 breaths here. Maybe get lower, lower, lower. Notice again, there's always going to be some level of resistance. And then walk back to what I'm calling the front, back to the short edge of the mat where you started. Bring the back knee down with the foot pushing into the floor. The back foot pushes into the floor like a pedal. That propels you up. And the arms rise up like big flames. Now work harder on squeezing the belly. Work harder on aligning. Drop the shoulders down like the arms are settling into their sockets. There goes my back toes crunching up. I'm trying to work on balance and equilibrium here. My back toes are going, here, I'm helping. I'm helping by curling. I don't know why they do that. Maybe one of your hands is doing something. Check out your hands. Is one of your hands making like a symbol? After 2 breaths of scooping the abdominals inward and upward, straightening the spine, 1 more breath, come all the way down. Let's switch to the other leg. 1 foot forward. This is where we're rehearsing and practicing. Pushing a little forward, discovering that there's a wall, and then easing up. So my phrase for this week is enjoy it. It's happening. We all know this holiday, right? Enjoy it. It's happening. And then afterwards, enjoy it. It's happening. We don't really get to choose everything that happens. We choose very little. Enjoy it. It's happening. Now hold forward. So here we are. We're pressed up against the wall. It's like now or never. Ease into the stretch. It's a super, super important muscle we're stretching right now. I'm not getting all anatomy today, but it's super important muscle. So when we're talking about having too much negativity and stress, this is a really good muscle to focus on. But that muscle's going to retaliate. It's going to hold on. It's a good thing. It's kind of like your main support muscle that holds everything together so you don't go flying apart. So it's a good thing it's tight. We don't want to hold so tight that we miss the experience of living. From here, we're going to come up. So turn the back toes under, lift the back knee, then spin the foot open, turn the whole leg with it. Now walk to the side edge. So turn all the way. I'm going to turn in the other direction, but I'm doing the same thing. Hang. Let's just take a couple of breaths in this wide-legged forward fold. 3. I find this pose to be so, I hate to say easy, but easy. This one's easy for me to get into as long as there's nothing going on in my head like a sinus thing. And 1. Walk back to what we call the front, so where you just came from. Lower that back knee down. Here we go. Press the top of the foot into the floor. That's like the pedal that pushes energy down so you can rise up. Maybe stretch your arms up. But the work here is finding equilibrium. Find the inner reference point, the place where you come from. You go back home and out all day long. You're going places and coming back. Find that inner reference. Is it around your heart? Is it around your belly? Is it somewhere around the head? 3 more breaths. Balancing. I'm checking on those back toes, see if they're helping me back there. Let them let go. They're not doing everything. 1 more breath. And then come down. Come back to hands and knees. So hands and knees, cat and cow. So do cat-cow. Slowly, with your attention, focus on push the arms and legs in cat, pull arms and legs in cow. So the push and the pull. Make room for the breath. So let's say you're in one of those really challenging negative situations, those group situations, and you're not probably going to do a lot of downward dogs and cats, and hero's pose, etc. But you can breathe. You can straighten your spine and breathe and make room, make way for the process of moving your feelings. The process of taking in breath builds energy. And I said you need strength, and of course strength is powered by energy. 3, 2, Now come to a flat spine, bring one hand center, and then twist the chest and the arm open to one side. Now do this without rocking your hips off into that side. So keep your hips centered wherever they started and just spin the spine open. Remember before we move the shoulder around, I want you to always think shoulder first, arm and hand, that's at the end. That doesn't matter what the arm and the hand are doing. It's the shoulder and its relationship to the chest and the back. That's what we're keeping straight. 2 breaths. Feel supported. Be brave. Be brave just to stay present. And exhale down. Try the other side. So one hand center. It's not holding all of your weight. Your hips, of course, are holding some of the weight. Now, it might be that your arm can extend, but if you're being honest, your arm might actually be like at a diagonal, right? My spine doesn't twist all the way. What is that, 180 degrees? It doesn't go all the way. Your body has put up these barriers to protect you. So honor that and be brave to stay present, even if you're back at the starting gate. You just got here. That's all you can do. That's enough for today. One more breath. And come down. So move back into that downward dog again. Remember, fingers grabbing in, putting pressure on the fingers, not the heel of the hand. Maybe lifting your heels, maybe lifting your hips, and maybe pushing back. Remember, we're staying straight in the spine. Maybe pedal. One knee then the other. Releasing any tension in the low back. I had said that the abs and the low back always compensate for those other joints that just won't move. After 2 breaths, walk all the way forward. Hold the elbows and hang. What you'll notice about today's practice is we're doing a lot of inversion, a lot of changing, let's call it the natural flow of gravity in the body. Because what I want for today is for you to show up and to stop being negative, to stop going with the flow and make a decision, a conscious decision to gain the energy to become strong, to choose to actually partake in the positivity. 2 more breaths. 2 and 1. Bring the hands to the knees. Roll all the way up. I wish I could sing. Well, I really wish I could. I'm going to try knee to chest pose here. So just find that balance point. In fact, what we're doing right now isn't even about balancing. It isn't even about the physical body. I want your mind, your eyes to turn in and find that physical equilibrium. Now, wherever you are, straighten your spine. So withdraw your attention from all the arms and the legs and the not falling and bring it to the spine. So breathe the spine straighter and straighter. Micro adjust the spine. And then come down. Let's try the other side. Again, don't let me pull you out of the inner reference point. Knee to chest or something like that. Squeeze the hammock of the pelvic floor muscles, so the bottom of the bottom. Adopt, squeezing and lifting the spine. Now straighten the spine. Micro adjust. Creating little spaces. One more breath. And come down. Whoa. I'm going to ask you to come into a low squat. So you might take your feet wide. This is sort of one of those poses where I say, this isn't for everybody. So if your knees have ever said, I don't think so, probably now is a time to say, I don't think so. So regressions could be, gonna hang out in this sort of bear pose. Take 2 blocks, stack them, maybe 3 blocks, and then sit on them. Or you could always just come down to an easy pose and work on that, sitting on a blanket. This pose, whatever you want to call this, I'll call it frog for today. This frog pose is really good at opening up the hips and the lower part of the toxicity, stuff we have to eliminate before we can take in the positive healing energy. So I invite you to come all the way down to the back. And then spin the knees and hips off to one side. Whatever pose, whatever you're doing with the legs and the hips and the shoulders and the arms and the neck, whatever pose you adopt here, soften. When we were in that supported child's pose, I was saying, soften your belly. But now we've gotten into hips and shoulders and neck and back. Soften. Soften. Breathe deeply and expand the ribs. Now that we've gone through our practice, it's safe to use the tools that we've used on our body to transcend. One more breath. Remember, all we're doing is softening. Then just spin the knees and hips to the other side. And I say spin, of course you do this slowly, carefully, and gently, honoring the walls. Those barriers are there for a reason. But sometimes that reason is no longer present. That's really interesting. Your body remembers like a trauma and just holds on to it even though that thing is no longer there. So once you find how you're orienting and navigating neck and shoulders and hips and spine, soften. Soften. Breathe the ribs out and back in. So you're talking directly to your muscles. And the tools that you learned for today is that you have to build energy and strength to free yourself from the negativity. You can't just sort of put a wall there and imagine it's not there. You have to become stronger in processing it and then replenishing it with positivity. Some positivity is natural, and it's beautiful if you can just find that. 3 slow breaths of softening. Softening. There's more. There's always more. Softening. Then make your way gently, slowly into a supported Shavasana. I'm saying supported because I really wanted you to find a pose. So I have this bolster. What I might do today is put that under my knees, but you do what you need to do. A lot of people love the bolster under the chest, under the upper back, and let the arms stretch out a little bit wider. But whenever you find Shavasana, settle in. Inhale deeply this time. Hold your breath. And then let it go. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale deeply this time. So keep inhaling. And then let it go. And then begin to roll to your side. Open your eyes. Push off the floor. Roll all the way up. Come back to any easy pose, but here's the key. Straighten the spine. Good. Bring the palms together. Inhale, circle up. Raise the energy. Bring the palms together. And then invite that energy into the heart where you and I meet as one. Namaste.